Did you know that during World War II, one of the Allies' most powerful secret weapons wasn't a tank, a plane, or a bomb, but a stage magician? This is the incredible story of Jasper Maskelyne, the man who used the art of illusion to outsmart the entire German army. Imagine this. It's the height of World War II. The British are locked in a desperate struggle against Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, in the vast, unforgiving deserts of North Africa. Conventional warfare isn't enough. The British need an edge, something completely unexpected. And that's when they turn to a man whose job is to deceive people for a living. Jasper Maskelyne was a star of the London stage, a descendant of a long line of famous magicians. He could make things appear and disappear, create illusions that baffled thousands. When war broke out, he was determined to use his unique talents for his country. He famously boasted, "Give me a free hand and I'll give you a victory." Most people scoffed, but one man listened. General Archibald Wavell, the commander of the British forces in the Middle East. Wavell saw the potential in Maskelyne's unconventional thinking. He recruited him into the Royal Engineers and tasked him with forming a top-secret unit. This team became known as the Magic Gang. It wasn't your typical military squad. It was a motley crew of artists, carpenters, electricians, and engineers, all masters of their craft, brought together to create illusions on a scale never before imagined. Their stage was the desert, their audience was the German army, and their magic tricks were designed to save thousands of lives. Their first major challenge was to hide the Suez Canal, a vital lifeline for the Allies. It was a massive, unmissable target for enemy bombers. Maskelyne and his team devised a system of dazzling lights and spinning mirrors. When enemy planes approached, these lights would be activated, creating a disorienting, strobing effect that made it impossible for bombardiers to aim accurately. They effectively made the entire canal disappear from the night sky, but this was just a warm-up act. Maskelyne's greatest performance was yet to come, a masterpiece of deception known as Operation Bertram. In 1942, the Allies were planning a massive offensive at El Alamein, a battle that would turn the tide of the war in North Africa. The element of surprise was absolutely critical. They had to convince Rommel that the attack was coming from the south, when in reality, the main thrust would be in the north. This is where the Magic Gang went to work. They needed to hide an entire army, nearly 1,000 tanks and artillery pieces in the north, while creating a phantom army in the south. In the north, they disguised the real tanks as ordinary supply trucks. They built lightweight plywood and canvas shells, called sunshields, that fit perfectly over the tanks. From the air, German reconnaissance planes saw nothing but a convoy of harmless lorries. The artillery pieces were hidden in the same way, and the massive supply dumps needed for the offensive were camouflaged to look like empty desert. Meanwhile, in the south, they performed the opposite trick. They built thousands of dummy tanks. These weren't just crude models. They were incredibly detailed fakes. They used jeeps as a base, building elaborate frames around them to perfectly mimic the silhouette of a real tank. They even created fake tank tracks in the sand to sell the illusion. They constructed a fake railway line that seemed to appear overnight, stretching for miles into the desert, complete with dummy trains. They even built a massive, sprawling, and entirely fake water pipeline, implying a long-term build-up for a major southern attack. To complete the deception, they broadcast fake radio traffic, simulating the communications of a full armored division preparing to move. The Germans took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Rommel moved his powerful panzer divisions south, leaving the northern front relatively weak. When the real attack began in the north, the Allies achieved total surprise. The Battle of El Alamein was a decisive victory, and Winston Churchill famously said, "Before Alamein, we never had a victory. After Alamein, we never had a defeat." Maskelyne's grand illusion had played a crucial role, but the Magic Gang's repertoire didn't stop there. One of their most audacious tricks was creating a complete, full-scale replica of the city of Alexandria's harbour. The real harbour was a prime target for the Luftwaffe. So, a few miles away at Marriott Bay, Maskelyne's team built a decoy. They replicated the harbour's lights, the docks, and even the lighthouse. They laid out lights on the ground to mimic the glow of a city under a blackout. When air raid sirens sounded in the real Alexandria, the lights in the fake harbour would turn on. To make it even more convincing, they rigged the decoy with explosives and pyrotechnics. When German bombers, drawn to the lights like moths to a flame, dropped their bombs on the empty bay, the Magic Gang would detonate their charges. This created flashes and fireballs that simulated direct hits on buildings and ships. The German pilots would fly home, convinced they had successfully crippled a major Allied port, while the real Alexandria remained untouched. For 8 consecutive nights, the Luftwaffe bombed a ghost city. Maskelyne and his team were masters of misdirection. They deployed inflatable dummy submarines to make the Germans believe naval forces were where they weren't. They created fake craters from painted canvas to simulate the results of bombing raids that never happened. They used sound effects to project the noise of advancing troops across empty valleys, pinning down enemy soldiers who were fighting against ghosts. Jasper Maskelyne's work was so secret that much of it remained classified for decades after the war. Some historians debate the extent of his direct involvement in every single operation, suggesting he was more of a figurehead for a larger deception effort. But there's no denying the monumental impact of these illusionary tactics. The art of deception, of making the enemy see what you want them to see, became a cornerstone of Allied strategy. After the war, Maskelyne tried to return to the stage, but the thrill of fooling an entire army was hard to replicate. He wrote a book about his wartime experiences called Magic, Top Secret. While some of his claims are embellished with a showman's flair, the core story remains one of the most fascinating and bizarre episodes of World War II. He showed the world that sometimes the most effective weapon isn't one that destroys, but one that deceives. He was, and always will be, the war magician. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as amazing as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales from history. See you in the next one.